And a very good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening for you. We're a time zone friendly welcome here from Poland as you join us for the WCS Winter Championship Finals, live from the Intel Extreme Masters in Katowice. So we're on day 2 of 4, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to another player. We're going to talk to Pig right now, who's joined us alongside the Muslim. Great to have you here, or rather not great to have you here. Similar to Puck earlier, really. We wouldn't be talking unless, of course, things had gone better for you yesterday.
Yeah, it would be nice to be out back preparing right now, but things didn't go as planned. But hey, we got to watch some nice series and stuff. So, you know, I'm used to being on this end of the camera these days anyway, right?
Well, it was I think someone dubbed the match with Huck as the World Caster Series yesterday.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think both of us kind of got our spots because Petraeus couldn't qualify. It was like, all right, Battle of the Casters, Huck, the superior player right now, so it went all right.
Maybe not the superior caster though.
No, definitely not.
Good.
No. I'm not sure how you have a caster battle, but like, yeah, we could like face
maybe
off
have like
somehow.
a wrap off or something.
Yeah. A cringe battle, basically.
Cringe battle. Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Disappointing play yesterday. I think we said collectively it wasn't really the Pig that we've seen. We've seen you play much better than that. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really feel like I was favoured or anything like that. I thought it would be a close set though, and it's kind of one of those experiences where when you play, and as a player, you have this foul taste in your mouth afterwards. You're like, oh man, I can't believe I played like that. So it was. I mean, Huck played really well, and he like forced me to react and that sort of stuff. So he did things right, and I kind of didn't play at all like I did in practice. So for me, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, like when I talk about Pig, I talked about this in the cast actually. Like Pig was one of the players that I underrated quite a lot when he came to Europe and said like, "Hey, want to practice a little bit?" I was like, yeah, sure, man. This is quite a while ago. And then Pig just 4-0s me in practice. I'm like, oh, bloody hell, he's a lot better than I thought. Like, so the fact that I saw Pig play like he did yesterday, I was a little upset. But when you do have $6,000 on the line for a best of 5, no matter how much you prepare, it's all about what happens on the day. And sometimes it just doesn't quite click, you know.
Yeah. But so have you had a chance to watch some of the other boys playing backstage?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched a lot of the matches. It's always interesting to see who can perform when you actually get to an important match like that, and you can just see the vast amount of preparation that's gone into it as well. It's always interesting, especially when players finish their match and, you know, whether they've been knocked out or what, and they start kind of talking about how they've prepared and kind of sharing what was going on behind the scenes in terms of their decisions. And it's always interesting to see where players can crumble under pressure and where other players can kind of make it matter when it matters most. Yeah.
I want to talk to both of you actually and get your opinion, because I think both of you have shared some of this. You particularly in Australia. Ben, I know, has done this in the past with other teammates. Liquid have many players here, and they're a very tight bunch of players, so they seem to rally around each other. We've talked to TLO before. He said, you know, when Snoop's having a bad day and he's tilting, they're all in there. You know, Patrick's giving him advice, Dario's giving him advice. What is it like to have that support when you come to a big tournament like this?
I'll go first for this, but the Team Liquid circle, I don't think it's always a positive thing, because they tend to
Is it like the Illuminati?
Well, they tend to whine a lot at each other and bring each other down with like, oh my god, I'm playing so bad, oh me too, we're all terrible, blah blah blah. So I don't always think it has like that positive effect, but it's definitely nice to have teammates of the same race, and if they are that kind of guy that can really lift you up, you know. I remember with Thorzane, like he was really, really good, but he didn't tend to have that self-belief a lot of the time, so I'd be there to be like, yo man, like you're really good, remember this, and he'd be like, oh yeah, da, da, da. So it can have good like reason, or it can have good sides and bad sides. Like Nurture and Firecake, they are both quite like sarcastic, and I guess there's a little rivalry with themselves. So like them and Euronics, they like to build each other up, but also be sarcastic with each other and have a little joke. So yeah, it can have good and bad effects.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because StarCraft, you can get very isolated, you know, playing on your own, and you kind of get trapped in your own mental bubbles, and it's kind of like having a coach, you know, in a traditional sport or something like that, but especially in a strategy game, something with StarCraft, there's so many different timings available, right? Like you're always playing in sort of a microcosm. Like the current meta is this very niche area, and you'll see people who are really smart and they kind of like pull out these old builds or these brand new builds, and sometimes it can really mess with your mentality if you don't have other viewpoints to kind of communicate and talk with the game about.
Also, even if you are in a team, you're ultimately against these people that are in the same team as you. So realistically, and I don't know if this is what the Team Liquid guys do, but realistically, do you want these guys to be feeling super good for when they come up against you? You've just hyped them up and stuff? Because yeah, no, not really. So yeah, it is a very solo game, and it's like where you draw the line and how selfless do you really want to be. It's tough.
So TLO's going up next. He's our final player in the round of 32 going against iAsonu, not Zero, as I said earlier on, because I'm a numbskull. In terms of the way he's prepared and done all his work with his Team Liquid, that's all great and everything's good, and he seemed to be in a good mindset yesterday. But today something seems to be slightly off. So how do things change so quickly from one day to the next?
I mean, sometimes you just, you build that momentum, and sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I think Dario is a player who's experienced enough now, and he's known in the community because he's kind of shared his insights through blogs about mentality, the physical side, dealing with injuries, but a lot to do with recovering from his losses and kind of moving up. I think it was around 2014 when he really started getting serious about competing again. So I think he's a player who's able to get over these hiccups. I think he's just going to kind of say to himself, look, if I'm practicing bad this morning, just stop playing, refocus on what I know about the game, just run through a few build orders or watch a few more VODs and just save up that energy. So when he gets into the important match, he can kind of go out and just play what's planned. But momentum's very important there as well.
Very quickly, I need a prediction from both of you. Which way are you going on this one? ZvZ?
Even if TLO is feeling bad, which, it's been rumor around the room, I still don't see him losing to iAsonu, so I think it's going to be a 3-1 for TLO.
Okay.
Yeah, stole the words right out of my mouth. 3-1 as well.
3-1.
I haven't seen any of IA's play in Legacy, so this might be his game. Could be completely wrong. He's a bit of an enigma to me, but definitely I favor Dario because he just thrives in the new game.
Okay, thank you very much to both of you. And that is it from Pro Corner for now. We're going to head back to the desk in just a short while. But first of all, let's check in with a man who has been around for many years, not just in StarCraft, but in previous games, and even been a world champion in the past as well. But he's still somehow searching for his first ever championship in StarCraft 2. He is TLO.
When I think about IEM Katowice, to me, other than BlizzCon, is the greatest StarCraft tournament in the year, so really looking forward to it. I think the StarCraft fans in Poland are extremely passionate and they're always cheering for the players, no matter if it's their favorite or if it's just the person who just won, as long as you don't piss off the crowd. I was training more than half in a long time for this tournament. Basically, when February started, I was training 6 to 8 hours every single day, and every day I kept in mind that I'm training for Katowice and that I want to win this. I didn't really take 3 days, and I just want to give my best here, finally break through. Of course, the goal for any StarCraft 2 player is always win a tournament, but it's very difficult, and I've been chasing that for a long time, so making it to a final, that would at least be a good step in the right direction. But here I'd be very happy with the semi-final as well.
It's not the quarterfinals yet, so TLO has a good shot. That seems to be usually where he fails in most tournaments. So
Shots fired.
Let's go into this with a positive mindset. Of course, back on this, TLO is... Huh?
Oh, I thought you were introducing us. Sorry.
In control. You're not doing very good today.
That's what Red Eye would have done. That's what Red Eye would have done. And will.
TLO comes into this after a couple of good events recently. He did well in Leipzig, he did well at DreamHack Winter, he's picking up results in Legacy of the Void. Not super high results, but he must be looking and feeling pretty good for this one, Kev.
Yep, and this is a good draw, let's be honest. iAsonu is no pushover, but if you look at the rest of the players in this tournament, this is just one of these draws where you just can't complain about your opponent. This could have been way worse. Yeah. This is a big series, there's a lot of money on the line. It's never easy, but this is pretty much as good as it's going to get in the run of 32.
And iAsonu played against Snoot not too long ago, a couple of months back now, in a Chinese, I can't remember the tournament name, Chinese final, which Snoot won. And Snoot's going to be able to give him a lot of information. There is information out there on iAsonu, and there's got to be a lot of strategy and thought process coming into this series.
Yeah, I feel a lot of the Chinese Zergs are often very aggressive with a lot of lings and a lot of roaches, and they'll just try to find openings. They keep running around. They make a lot of units early on. They don't have the European ZvZ mentality where it's like try to squeeze out as many drones. It's like, no, we get a bunch of units and then we run around, we look for openings. And Dario has shown us in the past, in WCS as well, when he went up against Chinese players, that he kind of knows how to deal with that. You know, just don't play too crazy, don't play too greedy, play solid, make sure that if you need a wall off, you know, the units are always in the right position, and I think Dario should be fine in this series.
What do you guys think?
Agree.
I think that's going to be the common mentality. I have a weird feeling about this match for some reason. And again, a lot of times when we were like, this should be a rollover. Last time we said that was Haz, and that should have been a rollover as well. But sometimes when you're running around with a lot of units, things can get weird. That being said, though, I do agree. And TLO is actually, over the years, we've seen so many TLO matches, which is awesome. I like one of his quotes, and I can never get it right, but way back, like 2010, he was talking about how, like, when the game descends into chaos, like, that's where he's most comfortable, and I think that fits well with the Chinese style.
Well, I see a lot of Chinese players in my region. Like, a lot of the Chinese players are welcome to a lot of our tournaments in Southeast Asia and just the Oceanic in general.
Yeah.
So we see heaps of these.
And Mongolians.
Of course, let's not forget Mongolia representing our country soon. But I mean, the point is, we've seen a lot of them. I've seen iAsonu play along with Shigua and Jim and that sort of thing, and they are very aggressive. So I think we're going to be seeing, you know, the creativity in the mental game versus just a straight, angry, aggressive Zerg.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, there is one thing, though, that TLO has to be very careful of, and this is a little bit of a cliche, but we've seen this in the past. Sometimes he does get carried away in his creativity, you know. It's like the +2 speed Baneling drop, while he also has Banelings burrowed, and he's relying on a magical fungo. It's like, hey, Dario, you know, like, tone it down and not. Just focus on the fundamentals here. Like, you're probably the better player. You're the more experienced player over here, and I think you've got a better grasp on ZvZ. So don't get carried away with these things that he sometimes gets a little bit carried away with. Just focus on basics, and then I think he'll be fine.
I do agree with you, Jeff, though. There is this weird feeling around this match. I don't know if you guys are feeling it too, but I think a lot of people at home are okay. Well, I think a lot of people at home are expecting a TLO easy victory here, and there's been a lot of predictions that have come in from the internet that TLO easy victories, but I don't feel that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than everyone thinks.
No. I get nervous when I don't know if I don't have any numbers to back this up, but I get nervous when it's supposed to be an easy win for TLO.
That's
I think I get nervous.
That's what it could be. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a solid 3-1, maybe like a 1-0 Dario, and then a 1-1 gets caught off guard, but then just plays it out solid. So
you very well could be right. I'd like it if we were right. That'd be kind of cool. We're like weird StarCraft oracles. We're like, I feel weird about it.
Jeff's like,
it's just
there's
weird.
something in the wind in this studio right now.
Why is it, Jeff? I don't know. Just I'm sensing weird. And then like, it's absolutely true. And when it's absolutely true, I'm gonna be like, yeah. I knew. I felt it.
This is kind of where we need Todd. I feel like, yeah, you guys always say the same. Like, yeah, I think one guy is going to win, but there could be an upset too. So you're always right. Like, I see what you're doing.
I'm sure he's watching right now.
I miss Todd.
Todd is going to do well with heroes. I'm so happy that he's, you know, he will be missed, but. With all these French players that are really good, by the way, they're inevitably going to become retired and bad. So surely we'll have a caster out of one of those guys, maybe Daishi.
And surely you'll have a tweet by the end of the day.
Oh,
Jeff, you want to
right
play
now?
You want to play best of 5? Like, anytime, any place, any channel.
He's going to get mad because he can't actually reply into this discussion right now. That's what he's like.
But I know Todd so well, so I have all the answers for him. You would like to play a best
You're
of 5?
right. This is exactly the reaction. In fact, you're getting a tweet now.
Thank you very much, guys. It is time to go to this match to finish and round up the round of 32.
Thank you very much, guys, and as of course, you know, just a shame that Todd's not here with us.
Wish he could be with us. Rip Todd.
Yeah.
So sad.
Unfortunately, his passion siphoned away like the souls of many. But we are going to go into another Zerg versus Zerg. I like the boys' analysis. TLO plays really fancy. Reminds me of another player, formerly of Liquid Hero, who basically was known for throwing games by being overly fancy, overly complicated.
Liquid Hero's that guy who had like double Warp Prism before Warp Prisms were even good, like Heart of Swarm. It's just like all over the place, Storm drops and Zealot drops.
It's like one is good, but you shouldn't be trying to do two while also splitting your army in 3 places. So we'll see. And I actually can confirm Todd is in the chat. He has posted a Roddy face. So Todd, if you're out there,
Todd.
Please don't send me the first tweet. But Yeah, I mean, iAsonu, I think it just goes without saying. We've always seen, or at least having done so many games of the American region, as Maynard said, a lot of aggressive play come out of them. But we are loaded in to the first map of this best of 5 here to finish off the round of 32. It's the last series in round of 32. In the bottom left, we have Invictus Gaming's iAsonu.
Now the Chinese player here in this tournament looking to take an upset against this player in the top right, the blue Zerg. It is TLO.
And I think one of the coolest things that we haven't really talked about too much, mostly because, you know, obviously Apollo can't live up to Chobra and Red Eye on the desk, but, you know, the regional representation that's been at this tournament, we're starting to see where the players coming from, you know, the Oceanic region are kind of heading, you know, we had Pig knocked out, you know, the American players, okay, so Kelzer is out of the picture now, but you still got Neeb to look at, you still got Huck to look at, and you know, iAsonu comes here, he's representing the Chinese scene, he's bringing that pride forward. So it's kind of like an interesting thing when we look at how WCS has developed because, you know, unlike many of these major tournaments over the last few years, we really get to have, with the way that the qualifier formats work, a much more wide representation across the globe for StarCraft.
Yeah, and even myself coming from Korea, you know, the Koreans are not allowed over here, but it doesn't matter. I feel like there's so much hype for these tournaments now. You get these certain regions coming out here representing their countries, and when they get an upset, you know, there's so many people behind them, and it's so crazy, you know. And, you know, Ha's already going through, the Taiwanese player, and if iAsonu could pick up an upset here, that would be insane. A huge representation from that region of the world. Yeah,
I think it's just one of the cooler things to follow, and especially you look at TLO, you know, one of the other biggest German players already eliminated from the tournament, Showtime, which has been a banner carrier for Germany for quite some time, and also obviously really awesome to see that we have a couple players that will be playing on the main stage for Poland as well, you know, in a laser, and awesome to see those guys, Nurchio as well. So for this Zerg versus Zerg, it's going to be just a straight-up speed opening, it looks like, from iAsonu. In Shigua's games yesterday, I got to see them versus Violet. You know, Chinese players really like the hyper-aggressive Ling Roach or, you know, opening up with a lot of greed. Not seeing that this game. It's going to be a quick mailing nest with this.
Yeah, just going with that onto base. We'll see if he does put out any other aggression here. Just going to take his third base. Meanwhile, back at TLO's base, he is getting that gas slowly. I think he put 2 drones in there, but no speed just yet. Just waiting it out. Maybe he's looking to tech up a bit here, but definitely going to have the advantage. I do believe he does have that third hatchery coming out here faster, and he is going to have the safe mailing nest as well.
And that's usually one of the biggest things to worry about. Like, the Chinese players are, from my experience, never were the guys in Heart of the Swarm that were just going to open without gas. Like, they're pretty much always going to get speed. You know, it won't just be Ling, Bane, but you'll often see the Roaches mixed in. So it's hard to be super safe against it because you don't obviously want to get caught off guard by anything. But TLO throws a couple Lings in so he can kind of see, he's like, okay, your mailing nest is ready. It's in your main, not super tricky. You have your natural. The third hatch is coming in. So it's not like some sort of pseudo 3-base play when, you know, he's not going to not have to worry about like that third being saturated possibly.
Yeah, that was just a couple of really important Zerglings to get in there because not only did he see that there's no lair coming up yet, he sees the timing of the Baneling nest, but also he sees the amount of drones that are coming out here. So he's got a very good read on exactly where iAsonu is. These 2 Banelings trying to come in here and snipe some drones, but
solid little defense here on the drone part. But you know, losing a queen definitely hurts, and these Lings still kind of poking forward, being annoying. The Spine Crawler is like that defense to anchor down the front, but before it finishes, it's useless.
Yeah, so nice little defense there. Lost that queen, but pretty even in terms of drones, not too far behind. iAsonu's only got 2 queens of his own. And
we have a lair on the way now for both players, starting up pretty closely to one another. The Roach Horn coming in for iAsonu as well, so obviously probably going to try to time that tech out to go for maybe +1 with this Evolution Chamber, and then Roach speed naturally when the lair is complete.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You can almost see into the mind of the programmer, especially when they put that Roach Horn right next to the Evo Chamber. We understand the build, but when it's right next to each other, it's like it's linking up in his brain.
You're thinking about it in your mind. You're like, oh, I want Roaches, obviously I want upgrades.
It's like, this is my idea. I'm putting them here. Yeah. It's in that one area of his brain, and now he's putting it on the map.
That's like as a Terran, you always notice, or like as a Protoss, you notice like oftentimes that second forge will be by your Twilight if you're going for like some sort of like transition, or your Armory is always by your second engineering bay. But it's honestly not super crazy to start this game. Pretty straightforward. We have that Roach attack on the way for iAsonu. He's getting Roach speed. We kind of talked about this already. TLO getting the Ling speed. kind of interesting, mostly because, okay, it's going to be a Spire play. I was going to say, I'm like, don't really see how Zerglings are going to be relevant versus a Roach-based army, but ideally in this scenario, he's going to get up to Mutas without dying to a Roach attack, which is always that's always the tricky part of ZvZ, is getting to Mutas without dying to the counterattack.
Yeah, and he's going to try to send out these Lings here. He's going to have speed in a bit. Definitely wants to send these into the base and try to get some scouting information done. Just try to get an idea of what's going on. Unfortunately, he does move them on attack command and run into iAsonu's own Zerglings there, so not going to have that much information. Now getting out in the middle of the map, trying to deny some of these Lings.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is you see those spine crawlers as well, and iAsonu, if you realize what's going on here, obviously the Roaches can't shoot up, so they're not going to be very effective against Mutas, but most of the time you see this kind of trigger that really huge swell, and he has only been building Roaches for quite some time, and your goal is just walk across the map, kill your opponent before the Mutalisks get out, or at least do crippling damage while you get spores back home, so you just have a massive lead, and your opponent really can't do much else. So yeah, that's where things get most tricky, and that's why we see TLO is constantly adding more spine crawlers. That is your linchpin to hold the defense together.
Exactly. This is the timing that iAsonu is trying to hit here, but I'm not sure if he's going to hit it on time. Already 9 Mutas on the way. 4 spine crawlers are easily going to be up in time, and he's not even moving just yet. He's trying to get this massive Roaches, hide it from TLO for as long as possible, but at the same time, I feel like TLO is going to be ready for it.
Yeah, he's got enough spine crawlers, and the overlords can see this army. And the biggest thing is that this attack is going to be hitting kind of as the Mutas come out, but a good number are already on the map, so he can start wailing away. By the time these Roaches hit that wall of spine crawlers, you're already seeing quite a bit of them getting whittled down. First Roach is going to die, and then of course, just the way the Mutalisks' glaive attack works, it's already bouncing and getting damage spread across the Roach army.
Look at this. This is a ton of Roaches. Even some Banelings in the mix, trying to get those hits on the clump of Roaches. Those 3 extra spine crawlers are not yet done.
Yeah, he's trying to push forward, but the Banelings coming in, even just that little bit of splash, they don't do bonus versus the Roaches, but if they hit enough of them, they might be able to push this back. The Queens have come down, and this Roach attack has been routed. TLO now can go back across the map, put on more pressure, and most importantly, prevent a 4th base from being planted because iAsonu does not have any mobile anti-air.
Exactly. TLO has total map control, and even though he did have to sacrifice maybe 8 to 10 drones in defending that attack, he defended it with flying colors. He kills all of these Roaches on the map.
One worker, Valdez.
Oh wow! I thought he pulled it. I thought he actually lost a lot more. So
that's pretty sick.
This actually makes him in a much better situation.
And he's just going to come dive right on top of this. You kill this Spore Crawler, and then the 3rd base is also going to be forfeit in this position. So Queens are going down. Bates hit the drone. 17 workers dead, and TLO with a strong start in game number 1.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were expecting for this matchup. TLO definitely the heavy favorite here, really swinging the hammer in this game, making it look easy on that defense of iAsonu's Roach timing push there. There is no way iAsonu is going to defend this 3rd base.
There's not much you can do in this position, especially since the Spore's been broken at the front. The 2-base economy is not going to be anywhere near enough to pull you back from a position like this. It's like, okay, send the Roaches across the map, try to buy some time for Hydras to pop, but TLO, he's got the 4th base on the way. He can take the 5th to 6th. He can do whatever he wants right now.
You can see he's even being a bit safe, like bringing all of his Mutas back just in case for the defense. He's still got a lot of those spine crawlers left all over. He keeps some of the Mutas back to kill the 3rd base too.
I do like the burrow play by iAsonu though. He's keeping the Roaches alive, but also now his burrow moves, so he's going to try to be a little bit more annoying to TLO. He's getting a drop overlord. He's presumably do some sort of other form of harass, but he's got what he needs to defend against this. Wow.
Look at this spine crawler forest. There's no way he's getting through that.
Get out of my house. Picks off the Overseer as well. I don't know. Everything that could have gone wrong this game for iAsonu has gone terribly wrong.
And now he's essentially trying every single desperate strategy that he possibly could. He's like, well, what if I snuck some Roaches in? And now he's like, well, maybe I'll drop them in.
Yeah, he's like doing all this stuff, but it's like trying to get his 3rd back. Whereas he needs to be taking like 3 bases and somehow getting, I don't know. I actually don't know. Like there's just not enough. The Mutas come in. It's like Hydra's okay. They're good. They're not terrible, but the Hydras are going to die. Mutas can go to the other side. The Lynx can kill the Spore Crawlers. TLO, he's got us in the bag.
Easily taking out all those Hydras. We do have this Roach drop in the main, trying to do some damage, but I think that TLO is going to end it here once and for all. GG! TLO will take game number 1.
Solid game number 1 performance. Opening up with the single defensive spine is never too terrible if you don't want to get on the aggressive, but that helps scale because, oftentimes you lose these games when you realize the Roaches are coming, you start your spine, but spine crawlers take more time to build than any other static defense in the game. So you're just sitting there for quite a while. The roaches with speed get across fast enough. They kill your spines right as they're about to finish, and then you hate life. But TLO just progressively, he went from 1 spine, he added 2 more. He didn't build 6 at once, and he didn't have to hurt his economy because of that. And it was just a really smooth Zerg versus Zerg. There's not too much to touch on.
TLO made it just look so easy. I mean, we were talking about how it would be a huge upset if iAsonu would win this series, and I think that first game is a really big testament to exactly how far ahead and how much of a better player TLO really is. You see it in the booth. TLO smiling to himself. He looks really confident, ready to go.
He's rolling his Kamehameha energy ball in his hands.
iAsonu looks kind of lost for words at this point.
Like, well, I mean, I think the thing is, like, iAsonu kind of does what you see a little bit more of in terms of Zerg versus Zerg, where it's like Heart of the Swarm, you had the big swell of roaches, but Dust Towers is just a longer map. The third base is so easy to defend as well. You don't have that outstretched position. So I think all that set aside, like, the build order certainly favored TLO in a big way because of that, and he didn't commit to any aggression, which is generally the weakness of the Muta build, because you can't have roaches.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing I hope that TLO doesn't do is try to get really creative. He's like super confident.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm going to pull out this crazy build, and
he's like, I'm actually
try to really embarrass him on TV.
Next game, I'm going to get the Spire, but I'm actually going to open Corruptors and kill your Overlords and then urinate on your buildings to destroy them. And it's like, well, no, that might be a little bit too much. I think Mutas can actually do the job just fine. Obviously, Corruptors also can't kill roaches, so I don't think that. I think TLO at some point realizes, like, you know, ZvZ is still a dangerous enough of a matchup where you can't pull those fancy plays. Because he actually does do that stuff versus Protoss players. There are some Zergs that really like doing that cheeky stuff in the other matchups, but, you know, just got to stay focused, stay calm.
TLO's still trying to channel that energy here with that ball.
Yeah.
Trying to work it into his hands.
Yeah, he's trying to keep his fingers warm, try to stay flexed. But for TLO, he's like always been one of those guys we talk about nerves, right? I guess the boys already had this conversation about just the Team Liquid players in general. Like nerves really do get to them quite a bit.
Yeah, especially when you get into this kind of best of 5 single elimination. We talked about it before. It can get very nerve-wracking, but taking that first map, I think, is going to be huge for TLO's nerve.
Yeah, confidence. Confidence is key, especially in a strategy game like StarCraft 2. Stay focused. We're loaded into game number 2 on Laralac Crest. Spawning in the northwest position as the red Zerg player, we have Invictus Gaming's iAsonu. Smart college boy.
Yeah.
Really good English.
And up at the top right, the blue Zerg from Team Liquid, it is TLO.
Naturally very good English speaker as well.
Yeah.
He comes out to all these events, TLO, for so long. He's never needed a translator. Really impressive. And we do have a pool first opening with a super fast gas. So TLO's getting, this is like creative in this sort of sense where it's like, okay, he's picked an interesting point. He's up 1-0. He's going to make that choice to commit to something that could be, you know, possibly a really fast game 2 victory.
Yeah, and once you get that first game that you just dominate your opponent, the second one's a really quick game. That's turning right into a quick 3-0. These two Overlords are going to see each other.
This is so nice for TLO, especially because
really helps him out.
He can get to his opponent's base really fast, but on the other hand, it can also hurt him because this should make it a lot easier for iAsonu to scout him since he'll know the natural is so late. Like and immediately in his mind, and I guess maybe depending on the builder, I'm not a Zerg player, but we have Lings already on the way. The pool is just not even halfway done yet for iAsonu.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if TLO can get some damage done. I wonder if he's going to try to commit to canceling the natural here, or at least doing some damage to the natural of iAsonu, or is he going to go straight into the main, try to get those drone kills, that economy damage? The Overlord here does see the Lings, so iAsonu will be preparing heavily for this.
So this is where you want to throw the creativity out of the window, right? TLS needs to go in and get a ton of damage done with this. The Lings are only just now starting for iAsonu. That Baneliness is so fast. Don't do anything weird. Don't try to Baneling snap the larva. Kill the Lings, kill the drones, Lings around the Queen, and take a game 2 victory. But of course, if he can't do that, if he can't commit and get a lot of damage done, this game falls apart real quick.
Yeah, you see TLO here really committing to taking out this hatchery here, not even going to go into the main yet. He has that Baneling Nest on the way. He knows it's going to be ahead of iAsonu, so he's going to morph it out of the vision possibly here of iAsonu and just try to catch him off guard. We already see these 2 Lings trying to get out of the vision, maybe morph into Banelings.
Yeah, that speed upgrade is about to finish as well for TLO, so this is going to give him the ability to get quick surrounds on his opponent's Lings. Speed has not even started for iAsonu. He desperately needs Banelings. Banelings are the key to defending against this, but at the same time, that production flood is going to come a lot faster from TLO because he has speed.
Yeah, and iAsonu now has identified that Banelings are out on the map, so is going to begin trying to snipe them here with a couple of Lings, do a bit of damage, and he really needs to get the spread, and he needs those Banelings out here, as you were saying.
Yeah, so the two Banelings are morphing in the mineral line of iAsonu, but the Banelings are just going to come right in for TLO. He gets some of the Lings, but not able to get the Queen just yet. And these Banes actually aren't getting that great hits for TLO.
Yeah, they really aren't. Just a couple of the Lings. He now gets a surround on a couple of these Queens. He is going to take one of them out, but there's Banelings out here now for iAsonu, so he's forced to go into the main.
I think his only choice is to just try to focus on a few drones, which is also weird because TLO is building drones back home, but he's behind that hatch, so the larva production is significantly limited for him.
Yeah, he really needs to get some more damage done here. He does have the speed advantage over iAsonu at this point, and I don't really know what he can do. There's just too many Lings, too many Banes.
You see that head shake by TLO there. He's like, I really didn't get what I wanted done with this. The drone count is very close, but just having that extra hatchery is so much more larva from the Queen Inject because he didn't kill all the Queens either.
Yeah, now this extra hatch out of TLO is kind of that defeatist hatch. He's like, okay, I feel like I already lost, but I got to play from behind now.
Just looking at this fly, like iAsonu, he's got that expansion, tries to come up here and snipe a Queen, and just does barely get it. So, I mean, it's something.
Yeah,
but
trades 4 Lings for a Queen. Not bad, but definitely not going to pull him that much closer in this game here. iAsonu,
no.
He's definitely got a good idea of where TLO is at.
This is that moment where TLO needs to break out, the green playbook of creativity if he wants to bring this game back. Because in a straight-up macro game, he is behind.
Where's that burrow? Where's the burrow of Banelings here? Let's go for that.
Yeah, what was Roddy saying on the desk? Get like 2 Overlords who drop Banelings while burrowing them. I think that's probably the best way to do it right about now.
I mean, if iAsonu is going to stick on Lings, which he's not, as we do see a Rotorn coming up here, I mean, possibly if you get a giant hit with maybe 4 or 5 Banelings underneath the entire pack of Roaches, it could be okay. But you really need the money hits if he's going to go for that.
30 Banelings while they walk all the Roaches over them, and then they kind of survive with 10 health, and then you lose anyway. Or you just morph them into Ravagers and they get all their health back. That also helps.
Yeah, well, Ling's going to come in here, get a scout on exactly what's going on in the base.
The drone! Oh! Well, look at that.
Drone's just barely getting that one before it gets into the main.
So if we look at just where the tech is set up, the Roach Horn's now on the way for iAsonu, so it'll be done reasonably soon. He is getting Ling speed, which makes me think that he might be looking to commit just like some sort of Ling Roach or Roach Ravager Ling, which for all intents and purposes should be able to do a lot because he's been ahead for so long in this game now.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have the advantage in units here. What he really needs to be careful about is just not running his Lings into all of the Banelings. We're having some lag in this game, so TLO is going to pause it here for just a sec.
Yeah, is making sure everything is okay. Of course, there's a lot on the line here. Definitely not one of those games where you're like, you know what, let's just play with like, a bunch of extra spikes for no reason at all. So hopefully it's all good in this game. Not too long of a delay here for TLO.
Yeah, seems like TLO, I mean, when you're playing with that kind of lag and you're behind this much in a game, it can be a little bit tilting, can make you a little bit uncomfortable. So even getting a pause here because of a legitimate reason is nice for TLO, just to get his breath, say, okay, calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's almost like the tactical pause, right? Because you got iAsonu, who's probably in his mind like, all right, I've got this game in the bag, like I should be able to do this, but then you don't want to lose focus because you have to just recognize the position that you are in this game. So looks like they are ready to go. Thank you, Daniel. Very much. Thanks, Daniel.
Not sure who that is, but shout outs to Daniel, the unpauser of IEM.
the master of
the
time.
official unpauser.
He is our official time wizard here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
So Ling's going to come in here and get a nice little scout. Sees no lair. Sees also the Roach Horn is out here for TLO. I think iAsonu at this point should be feeling very nicely about this game. You were talking about this. He just needs to execute this one attack.
Yeah.
And that's about it. This game is looking very good right now for our Chinese player.
Like I said, unless, TLO isn't building Banelings either. He's only got a few. He doesn't have 30, nor does he have DeBurrow, which makes me exceedingly nervous. This should just be really hard to stop, honestly. He's got to eat all the Corrosive Biles. He's got to split against every single Baneling.
He's relying on
probably run up a wall, Matrix style, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's relying on a lot of Ravagers here, TLO is. He wants those money Corrosive Biles. He's getting some of them. Wow,
the
big Baneling bust there, and now they're kind of even right now in supplies.
The buffer there created by the Corrosive Bile is really important, and TLO is making less units work for him just by using those crystal bows actually exceedingly impressive. Suddenly the supply's getting a lot closer.
Yeah, all of a sudden this is evened up, and TLO's like, okay, I guess he can take a third base after that.
He flipped the game on its head with those Ravagers. So the worker count is still favoring IA, which was for me the biggest thing to worry about. But now TLO has just got this firepower from the Ravagers. Defensively, Ravagers are so sick.
Yeah, the Ravagers did a really nice job, but one thing I wasn't really looking at there was I think iAsonu had maybe 5 or 6 Banes, and he was running them up the ramp, and I think they may have traded with a couple of TLO's Banes. So that was definitely another fantastic trade for TLO in that fight. And immediately, we were talking about this game possibly being over, but now it's very, very even.
I mean, suffice it to say, TLO did not do anywhere near as much damage as he wanted to with that opening, because that's usually like a game-winning type push or game-losing type attack. But you know, he used the Ravagers in a really nice way to pull things a little bit closer. And I still think, also the drone count, is it still favoring IA right now? TLO is catching up, so that's like, you know, the thing that's supposed to make it super difficult is that IA has had an income lead for so long, and that's why I'd say, you know, TLO has been in this sort of behind spot. So iAsonu maintains a small lead, but nowhere near as substantial as having the extra hatch when your opponent's Ling Bane all-in fails.
Yeah. For sure. We do see a bunch of Speedlings coming over here trying to break the back rocks. We already saw TLO trying to do the same to his opponent. I think he's got those to about half health here, but I don't think TLO has noticed this coming here, so actually he does now. So he's sending some Lings over.
He's all over it. Those Lings were like busy working on the rocks to get caught in the corner. Most of them are killed. But you know what else, though? This is another big thing that's important to note. iAsonu does have a very nice advantage in terms of this lair tech, which is something we haven't pointed out. TLO has only just finished his lair. iAsonu has Roach Speed about to finish. His +1's going to be done a lot faster. TLO starts Roach Speed, cancels it, starts Aspires. So he's like, okay, this time around, I don't think it's going to be as simple as just building a couple spines, because this isn't Dust Towers. There's 2 places that iAsonu could push from. And
yeah, and you could tell iAsonu is already thinking about breaking down those rocks and already thinking about the way he can abuse this map here.
Yeah.
So we do see both players have a nice vision of how many drones exactly are being made at their base. Another very important thing, just to know where your opponent is at in terms of his economy compared to his army. You don't want to be caught off guard if he's not making a bunch of drones and a huge swell of roaches come out and kill you. So that's pretty nice for both these players. Now TLO's getting the Spire and the Speed and the +1. So he's kind of covering all of his bases here.
yeah, and I think that's, I mean, if he's behind, he doesn't want to play the same style, Roach versus Roach with that. He still has the option to use those tools if he wants, but a handful of Mutalisks can really do a great job of picking off your opponent's Ravagers or shutting down, you know, any type of game-ending push that he might try to make, you know, were he to, for example, max out. So big things here. With the Lings on the map for TLO, I think obviously he would love to get a cancel on that 4th base. It's not super far along for iAsonu, but TLO is aware of it. And that's going to be the big target here, because if iAsonu pushes across the map and commits a lot, TLO with the backstab could shut that down, and then he just needs to trade even, because we have 7 Mutalisks on the way now.
Yeah, 7 Mutalisks, and iAsonu has not scouted this, and it looks like iAsonu wants to put on the pressure here, trying to break down these rocks. There's no way he can attack in there after he breaks the rocks, though. Look at this concave for TLO. No way that's going to work.
Yeah, this is one of definitely the advantages of that position on the map, is that the Ravagers, you know, it's like, oh, you want to fight through there, you know, you're basically going through the hot gates of Sparta, man. It's not going to end well for you. And there's a huge number of Roaches, but, I mean, the Mutalisks are coming up, and this is where TLO throws that, you know, is like, you activated my trap card, bitch, you didn't see this coming, nerd. And now the Ravagers die, the single most important unit in the game right now for ZvZ. And then TLO fights Roach Ravager versus pure Roach. He's got a lot more capability, firepower with this army.
And look at this, iAsonu is caught in a weird place. He's like, should I fight now? Should I just go back?
Yeah.
I'm sustaining so much damage out on the map to these mutas.
Yeah, exactly. Sustained damage from the mutas. They just constantly attack with impunity. It's like, what are you gonna do? The Roaches can't climb on top of each other.
Yeah. Well, it seems like iAsonu's response here is just to make more mutas, and I'm not sure if TLO has spotted that tech, but this is going to be 13 mutas, 14 mutas now out of nowhere.
14 coming out within a short span of time. How many Mutalisks does TLO have? He stays at a pretty even number, to say the least. Of course, as mutas rally across the map, I guess the defender's advantage comes back into place for the Mutalisks, even with as fast as they are. But that Ravager count is also going to assist a lot. Don't kill your own mutas, TLO.
Yeah, this is kind of strange because a lot of these mutas now for TLO
Yeah,
are very, very low. The corrosive biles need to hit for TLO, but they're not hitting. Nice micro here by iAsonu, but he's definitely losing the ground fight here.
TLO has taken a massive supply lead. Even if he loses the Muta Wars, he's now managed to get on top of the drones, which is the cash money position, to be able to take in a ZvZ, the natural expansion, under fire. And he's going to smack down the larva, canceling a few of the building Mutalisks with his corrosive bile at the same time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. At the same time, he's in here at the 4th base, denying any mining. 14 drones have gone down, and that's going to be it. GG.
TLO. That is exactly the kind of decision making that I think is so nice to see in a ZvZ. TLO opens up, super aggressive, fails miserably. He barely kills a queen after the attack has already failed. Doesn't kill any drones, doesn't kill the natural expansion. And iAsonu's like, well, I've got a 6-7 drone lead for most of the game now. I had my natural faster. I got my injects earlier. And then TLO's like, you know what? Instead of playing this game normally, I'm going to throw in this Spire. Finishes just in time to smack back those Ravagers. And, you know, it wasn't creative. It was just good.
Yeah,
Valdez.
It was just really
good.
standard defensive play. And iAsonu played perfectly into the hands of TLO. You can see he is getting a bit frustrated here. But...
Oh, I wasn't... Wait, TLO GG'd? Oh, wow.
Wait,
I think this is the biggest brain fart I've ever had. Because it looked like he was still up about 30
I thought
supply.
I saw that, but...
Huh. Oh, wow. Well, I get to make my first fail of the weekend here, Valdez. I was super confused.
I'm with you on that one, too.
I'm like, he cleared out all the drones, he killed the natural, the 4th wasn't mining, and then I guess he just didn't... he didn't want to make more Mutalisks back at home, or he didn't have any Spore Crawlers? All right, well. All right.
Kind of
How about
funny.
that? It definitely looked like he got a lot done there.
Yeah, it looked like he was ahead and that he had won the fight and that he had killed the hatchery.
That is
he
why,
denied all the
that
mining.
is why I was so confused.
He won the fight on the ground heavily.
I just assumed that he had killed enough.
Maybe
but
there was
as you can
something going on
see-
in TLO's base that we didn't see. Maybe like a run by, he lost a bunch of stuff, but there was no
this
drones
is where
lost.
everyone
Like,
finds out that neither of us play Zerg. Oh well.
Well, I mean, even so, that was just a really strange engine.
Yeah,
for that one.
that was definitely a strange game across the board. Thinking about it. Well, I mean, anyway, series is tied 1-1.
Moving on.
Yes, we're fools. It's all right. We're gonna go into map 3 soon. TM.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where to go with this series then, because it's been weird now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to the guys and see exactly how that one went down, but that definitely changes the whole dynamic of the series, you know?
Obviously, I didn't read the victory screen properly, but it looked like he had a lot back home as well to work with. So that was just the most confusing part to me, was that I didn't see anything actually get through, because he prevented the Lings from breaking the back rocks. He killed every single ground unit that he had. I think all IA actually had at the end of that game were just like the 13 or 14 mutas, maybe 17 or so. But at that
he
point,
definitely won in the muta count.
Yeah, the time that it took.
Maybe TLO was just like, oh, he's gonna clean me up and come just clean up my base.
I would assume that the biggest thing he was worried about is the time it would take for him to clean the roaches wouldn't have been enough to get spores up at his bases, because killing the natural hatchery puts them on an even number, like if he was just going to try to retake them. But, oh wow, what an interesting...
Yeah, kind of an interesting place to GG as well. You know, usually with an attack that was that effective, you take out the hatchery, you've denied all the 4th base mining. Of course, the 4th base hatchery still lives, but eventually you are going to lose all of your units. But back at home, you've got a 3-base economy. It's not that bad. You can get spores up decently in time. You know, maybe they kill a bunch of queens.
Yeah, that was a really confusing game. Okay, the chat's backed me up on TLO being up on supply. We're completely crazy, but I guess for a ZvZ, he did lose all of his mutas. And I would say there weren't that many Ravagers before that big fight where they were trading. I feel like TLO actually ate a lot of his own corrosive biles by chasing with the mutas into the retreating roaches. Because if his mutas were all at full health, then it also shouldn't have been that landslide where he lost the air battle that fast either.
Yeah, well, either way, guys, we are going to jump into game number 3 here.
Great, what a weird series. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think anymore. We're loading into Orbital Shift Guard. In the top right, the red Zerg player tied 1-1. It's Invictus Gaming's iAsonu.
Must be feeling pretty happy after that win, I suppose.
That's
not the most standard way to win a game.
I don't know what you think to yourself when you lose pretty much everything that you have and then your opponent taps out.
And down in the bottom left in the blue, the player losing that last game from Team Liquid, it is TLO.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because I feel like TLO is also one of those players where even if you were to think that he was behind, hey, why not just play it out a little bit longer, right? So maybe there's something that we don't realize that's going on. He's maybe not feeling that great despite winning game 1 so convincingly.
Yeah. And, I mean, iAsonu did have a group of Lings out on the map before. TLO didn't kill all of those, but I didn't notice any drone damage being done there. So I'm not sure if there was something going on in TLO's base that we missed.
He killed all the drones that he had in the natural. He killed the natural. He canceled a lot of units building, killed all the roaches, killed all the ravagers, and still had some units kind of running around at the end there.
Yeah.
But
well, this has definitely become the most interesting series today.
Perhaps that game 2 is what's gonna be talked about at the interview.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say about that one. Just even the timing of it. You know?
Either player, it's like, hey, how'd you feel when he GG'd? He's like, I'm not 100% sure why I did. And he's like, TLO, how do you feel when you GG'd? And he's like, I'm not 100% sure why I did.
He's like, I was just really angry. I just didn't want to play that game.
Yeah, at this game,
I want to get out of here.
A really fast evolution chamber opening here out of TLO, and I feel like it's too fast to just be a drop. So I'm thinking maybe something weird like fast Carapace or Melee to win an early Ling fight. Like, you could go for an Overlord drop, but he has the Evo chamber like faster than you would need it because he doesn't even have a Baneling Nest or speed on the way.
It's too fast. So it's definitely going to be this +1 attack. You're going to go for very fast Zergling attack upgrade. And I suppose just go for a big swell of Lings and try to catch him off guard. This is definitely not a standard build. This is 100% a TLO build that has been concocted by the doctor himself.
So this is where we get to see a little bit more of the creativity start to flow.
He's like, after that game, I need to prove to everyone that I am just a genius.
Yeah, it's like, this was all part of my plan. It's like TLO looked into the future. TLO's like, guys, you don't realize if I went up 2-0, then the series would have eventually become 2-2, and then it would have been really stressful. But I know that if I lose game 2, I actually end up winning 3-1. So this is actually all part of his master plan. Daniel, the Time Lord, actually went into the future and checked it out for him. So another shout out to Daniel as well, who's assisted in this amazingly weird series that we have here. So the +1 melee, naturally big. The Lings are going to kill the Lings of iAsonu in one less volley overall. Lings have such low health, they attack so fast. It's a big upgrade. It allows you to absolutely Shrek Queens as well. You'll destroy Spine Crawlers, who naturally have 2 armor. So this kind of just makes your Lings are just better in general, but you have a little bit less to work with because you get it so early.
Yeah, one thing that's good for iAsonu in this game is that he has got a pretty early Baneling Nest just for safety here. With that third base coming up here, he does have an Overlord in position as well to spot that there is no third base of TLO. So I think he should be feeling pretty good about this one. He's also going to get that Roach Warren up here in just a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, Roaches are going to be even still, while we normally say like Roaches, okay, they're a bit tanky. Once they're in big clump, Lings have a harder time. But +1 melee, Roaches have 1 armor by default, which is what makes them good against Lings. But even this little bit of pressure here from iAsonu, though, TLO's Queen does get picked off as he's taking that third base. But now the +1 melee is going to finish, and suddenly iAsonu is going to be like, yeah, we'll trade. I've got 1 or 2 more Lings than you, and then TLO wins the fight, and he might be like, what is going on here? Because even a handful of Roaches are not going to be enough.
Yeah, he needs Banelings. He needs to get magical Baneling hits here because there's going to be a gigantic swell of Lings coming across the map. Already about 12 of them, 10 more to follow up. And he's only making 2 Banelings right now. A couple more on the way. And TLO just got a really great trade there, 2 for 1 on one of those Banelings.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing as well. Pick off those Banelings is the only thing that really handles these Lings. You're not going to win a head-to-head fight against Lings that have this early upgrade. And the Queens are not going to be able to buy as much time as they normally would be. The Hatchery's going to fall a lot faster. The Banelings have to get the money connections, but even then with the upgrades, it's even easier to snipe the Banelings than it was before.
Yeah, and TLO's getting fantastic trades until that one. A nice Baneling hit on about 6 Lings, and all of these Lings do get cleaned up. There are more on the way, but
TLO,
7 and 8 Roaches coming out here.
He just needs to keep the Roaches from being too much of a nuisance. With the Lings upgraded, that might be doable because he's getting his lair, and it looks like he wants to go right into the Spire after this. The Banelings, though, as you said, iAsonu, that last connection, it's really all he needs. The Banelings are the best answer to better upgraded Lings this early on.
Yeah, so now iAsonu charging across the map here, looking for redemption for any damage that he did take. So many Roaches and Lings have been made, and gonna start morphing some Banelings here as well. And TLO with transition into Spire, I mean, he's only got Lings here essentially. Desperately trying to get up 1 Spine Crawler now, up at that third base.
Yeah, and that's, that we kind of talked about this already in the first game on those towers, what that Spine Crawler does against the Roaches, but it can also one-shot those Banelings for picking those off, since really all TLO has tech-wise is just Lings, and the upgrades are nice, but you get 1 or 2 Banes, and then you can't even go near the roaches. Just keep the Banelings near the roaches and how those things are supposed to surround you.
I'm not sure this is going to work out. Still 4 Banelings left over for iAsonu. He's saving them for any swell of Lings, and as you said before, only Lings coming out here. He has nothing else
to do was just use the Banelings to bully the +1 Lings away from his roaches. That's exactly what he did.
That's
now
exactly
he counters, and I don't know that there's anything else.
And he's still got more Banelings to do exactly that for the rest of the game.
In most cases, you want to hit the Lings with your Banes as fast as you can, but there's no reason to now because you just keep the roaches alive. GG, iAsonu up 2-1 now.
Uh-oh.
And this series,
Here we go again.
I still can't wrap my head around what happened at the end of game 2. Like
that's going to be a major talking point regardless of who wins.
As soon as we're done casting, we're just going to immediately go back and look at the VOD. Like what actually happened? That it was just so. What exactly did we miss at least? But now TLO after that weird end to game 2 is down 2-1 and suddenly at the brink of elimination.
And now he's got to win 2 games in a row in a ZvZ against a player that he has not had much luck so far in this series.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of time. We're going to go to a break, give the players a moment to rest before we go into that next map. You're watching the WCS Winter Championship at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WCS Winter Championship here at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. We are about to go into game number 4 between TLO and iAsonu.
Yeah.
A very interesting ZvZ series we've had so far.
What a wacky series. That game 2, everybody's, there's threads going on. There's
already
tons of
people
discussion.
debating
It's going,
about it.
The world is exploding. The world of StarCraft.
I'll be the last guy to claim to be an expert on ZvZ. I don't think I've ever.
Me neither,
I've never made it past the 5-minute mark because I play NA ladder. I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do what Zerg players do. But it definitely seems like neither player was 100% certain what was going on at the end of that game. So
I mean, it definitely seemed like it would have been hard to get up some defenses for TLO, but it was an early lead for sure. And I think that break was really important for him to get his his head back together on straight and get that confidence back.
Yeah, and he was behind most of that game as well. But it's time now, as we do have a 2-1 lead for this man in the Southeast, our Chinese Zerg player representing Invictus Gaming, iAsonu.
Must be feeling really good coming into this game number 4.
He smacked down our blue Zerg player's aggressive build pretty easily in game 3.
Yeah, up in the top right, the blue Zerg player himself from Team Liquid, it is TLO. Looking to win 2 in a row here to come back and make it into the round of 8. Do you think he can do it, Nate?
He's shown that he has, the guile to kind of pull himself back like he did on Laralac Crest before, that ending. And game number 1, he executed flawlessly. It seems like he's been heavily leaning towards Spire-based play, which has hurt him to some extent on Orbital Shipyard, for example. Roachling Bane versus Roachling Bane, even if he has a little bit less units, but still has that +1, maybe he can make it work. I guess this is where my lack of being a Zerg pro gamer kind of comes into play, because maybe having that few less units and trying to get the Spire out better would have been more ideal. Because obviously when you play with mutas, you dump all your gas into those, you still have the lings that you can run in, so the +1's useful. But iAsonu's decision making in terms of defending the aggression in this series has been great. He completely smacked down the Ling Bane all in game 2. He completely smacked down that +1 attack, and it wasn't like he had some sort of weird blind counter. He microed very well with his Banelings, and he controlled perfectly with his Queens.
To be honest, looking at this whole series for iAsonu, I feel like that first game was kind of, it wasn't his best game. He really didn't show off any of his skill, but after these last 2 games, he's really just defended really well. He's played just solid ZvZ. He's not falling into that, just Chinese stereotype where it's like, I'm just going to be super aggressive all the time, try to kill you.
He's playing smart.
He's just playing really good ZvZ in general, and that's really impressing me right now.
Yeah, this is about as straight up of a Zerg versus Zerg kind of play that we've seen out of iAsonu. It's not anything that's mega aggressive. It's not overly greedy like Shigua played against Violet yesterday. He's just kind of taking his time. He's not really being too fancy with it. And that solid play, TLO, he's taking a couple of jabs trying to break down that defense, and it just hasn't worked.
Yeah, especially that last game, the +1 Ling upgrade. iAsonu had his number the entire way, the early Baneling Nest just for safety. We've seen that a lot out of iAsonu. I think TLO is definitely going to have to play it differently here. And I love the fact that he's taken this greedy third base. It's not that greedy, but it's a lot faster than iAsonu's. He's just going to try to get ahead here on a very big map and just take a long macro game instead of going for like a weird timing or anything like that.
Exactly what you said. He's kind of going for the macro game. He's dialing it back. TLO has been the aggressor in the in the second and third games. Game number 1 was relatively macro enough, but in Dust Towers, it's kind of what you're what you're signing up for. Yep. And I think that this map also leans a bit into what TLO might want to do with the Mutalisks, because it's close air. He can go from main to main very easily. He can run back to defend very easily. The bases are going to be more outstretched, so the Roaches will take a long time to go across the map for iAsonu. So if TLO is able to play this in a similar vein to the other maps in this best of 5, I think he's in a totally fine spot to kind of play that style without being too at risk.
And if you can get into that game number 5, I think TLO has definitely got the experience over iAsonu. This guy's been around forever, not even in just StarCraft 2. He's definitely going to be able to just calm himself down, get his confidence back from winning game number 4, and come back. But he's got to win game number 4 first.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be an easy feat against a guy who's definitely proven that he is a strong player.
I think especially important to note is in the Chinese scene, we talk about all those aggressive plays, and that's probably why iAsonu has been like, you're going to try to be aggro versus me, man? Like, do you know what Tudming does every other game? Sling Roach off like 1.5 base and hots. Like, I got all the micro skills I need from just, my career so far. It's all about the aggressive play there. So TLO playing this more macro-centric style, I think should be nice. only real things to notice so far in this game. The Lair's a bit quicker for IA, but not significantly enough that he's going to have like a huge timing window with Roach speed, or at least he shouldn't.
Yeah, he's getting that +1 with Roach speed right now, but he's also taking that third base. This is very far behind TLO. It's just been droning up essentially up until this point, but even then TLO is ahead. He's had a lot more larva from that third base and is going to have the mining there for a while here over IA. And TLO getting his own Roach speed here, and the Spire looking like a lot of what we saw on Lairlac Crest.
Yeah, and that's just kind of what TLO's been showing so far. The Spire doesn't surprise me at all, and I think that's one of the things IA is going to be really looking out for. You want to spot that transition because the investment of resources that you need is a lot of gas, a lot of minerals, of course. Mutalisks ain't cheap, Valdez, so that means you won't have a lot of roaches if you're making that switch into Mutalisks, and that's when iAsonu can go try to hit you with that attack. It didn't work in game number 1, and then it's been a little bit more even, of course, on the shorter rush distances in the previous 2 maps as well, because he died last game trying to get to Mutas.
Yeah. We'll see if iAsonu can hit earlier. What we saw in game number 1 was that he really massed up a giant force
I feel
of
like he
roaches
could have
and tried
done
to hide it for a
more
long
with
time.
less roaches. If he just had if he just moved out earlier with less roaches, then
and I
he
think
wouldn't
he's
have had all
realizing
those
that right
mutas.
now. I think he's realizing it. He's saying, okay, I need to ramp up the aggression. I need to punish you
The
right now.
spines aren't here. The mutas aren't here.
There's nothing. He's trying to morph banelings right now to
There's
defend.
actually nothing. There's 5 roaches in a baneling
Oh,
versus
man.
19 roaches. TLO's drones coming off the line, but they can't fight. Those mandibles aren't sharp enough to chew through roaches.
No way. And look at this, +1 end speed. TLO's got his own speed, but he doesn't have nearly the amount of roaches. Now there's some banelings coming down here for the big hits, but nice splits here by iAsonu.
Yeah, and the most important thing to note is that TLO does have a crazy amount of drones, so he can afford to take some losses, but iAsonu with the follow-up into the Spire, we've already seen how that works. Wait, TLO's starting another Spire. Did
he cancel a
Did he
Spire?
act? Oh, he killed it while it was
man.
building. Okay, well, I don't know what he's supposed to do now. IA already has the big investment in the roach. He's already got that ground lead, so IA is going to be like, you want to go Mutas? I'm going to go Mutas before you.
Yeah, he's got the
a
massive advantage in terms of
huge
timing
roach
there.
lead. The only thing that TLO still has is he's pushing IA back, is he still has the drone lead. If IA wants to continue to be aggressive, he will still be behind in economy, and it all comes down to just holding it together, but it's still not going to be easy.
Yeah. You notice that iAsonu not really making that many Ravagers here, really just focusing on pumping out as many roaches as possible. He doesn't really have a saturated third base right now. He needs to get that damage done. He's going into Mutas now with a +1 upgrade, so it looks like he's going to make a switch here and not fully commit to killing TLO with these roaches here.
Man, this is still a really awkward position because IA gets to make that Muta transition before TLO can, and TLO's been the player that's been showing that favoritism towards it, but also IA still has more roaches on the map. TLO has the economic lead, so with Spore Crawlers and maybe Creep Spread, he could lock it down, but you know, Valdez, there's no Creep Tumors here. This army of Roach Ravager is completely exposed to Mutas. He could push the Mutas in between these 2 bases, force the Ravagers to go to one base, and then send the Roaches to the other.
There's no Spore. TLO
Or
has
just
no
go
idea.
to
There's
the main
one
base.
queen. There's nothing here to defend.
All the confusion...
The bases aren't even connected by creep.
Yeah, in all the confusion and madness, TLO never actually scouted the Spires, so he's just going to go for the counterattack. He's building his own Mutalisks, but at the same time, some of them actually getting killed while coming out. He's taking some drone losses. TLO, looking like he wants to go for make attack, changes his mind and pulls home.
Kind of interesting
This
here.
is another weird
That
game.
play, he does pull back the Mutas, buy him some more time, but there's still no defense here in the main. He has no mining. That lair is
And
definitely
he can't
very vulnerable.
move his queens between his bases because he doesn't have any creep spread at
Yeah.
all.
Now he's going to go for the attack here. He's actually grouping up his Mutas here to just try to pummel iAsonu here and just kill him right now.
Yeah, he's going to move, and he does have the Ravagers as well to help push those roaches, but he hits his own roaches with the Corrosive Bile. The Mutas do manage to pick off the queen, but then the Mutas come back for iAsonu.
Look at all these iAsonu Mutas coming back here. The Corrosive Bile's not landing, and they're
he
going to do a
can't.
huge number to all of TLO's forces.
He can't fight versus the Mutalisks. He's lost a lot at home. The Corrosive Biles are going to try to launch again. He's canceling units that are being produced, but he can't kill what's in front of him. He can't kill the army. iAsonu is going to take a 3-1. GG.
GG. iAsonu has taken a 3-1 victory over TLO. Another huge upset, but he really made it look like he was the one that deserved to get out of this one.
Yeah, it's just an absolutely, crazy series. You know, game number 1 was about as standard as it gets. iAsonu probably waited a bit too long with the roaches.
And it looked like TLO was going to stomp him after that first game, too. He made that defense look so easy.
And then game 2, iAsonu holds on with the early aggression. TLO barely squeezes it back, and then we kind of have that that weird ending. Game number 3, TLO has this builder that like it looks like he could do a lot. He manages to get the fast +1, but IA has nothing of it with the Baneling defense. And
Totally prepared.
yeah, he did a really good job of dealing with all the crazy scrappy scenarios. And then TLO just, in all the madness of that, having the Spire killed while building is a lot of resources lost, but also just he's so focused on defending, he never actually scouted, it seems, that iAsonu had his own Spire building.
Idea.
He gets blindsided by 10 mutas, they kill his queen, so no more injects, they deny drones being able to mine.
From there, it's over.
Yeah.
You know, you take way too much damage, 14 drones had gone down. iAsonu, he looked like he was so prepared for the ZvZ. He had TLO's number the entire time. And I can't wait to talk to him there on the couch.
Yeah, let's hear what the boys of the Analyst Desk have to say about that crazy best of 5.
Well, thank you, Nathanius. Welcome back to the Analysis Desk. I'm feeling pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
How's it feel, Jeff?
Well, I mean, the hardest part for me is just keeping all this knowledge in my head about StarCraft afloat, because it's just like, when I say I got a feeling, you know what I mean? Like, you know when there's like, I don't believe in magic per se, but it's like,
It's something.
I was like, this is what I do before every match. I read about both the players. I go to a legal act. I memorize the entire information that they've ever done. And then I think to myself, and I just go, Jeff, that's all fine and good, but like, what do you sense? What does your gut say is going to happen? And on this one, I was just like, geez, block out the Rotterdams, block out the Maynard, like that's background noise.
I guess we're pretty red-faced over here.
I thought iAsonu was going to win.
No,
I didn't think. I felt.
Yeah.
I felt. I thought actually TLO was going to win. I felt. So yeah, that's a huge upset, by the way.
It is.
TLO is actually a legitimately very good ZvZ player. We talked about it all the time. The European scene is flushed with very good Zerg players, and he actually is not like middle of the pack. Like, he does very well. It looked rough. Like, there were some calls. Brilliant cast by them. They were talking about Ravagers hitting his own units. Kind of an early GG. Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, Kevin, you were watching the match really closely.
Yeah, I mean, I do not think that he was winning that game, even though the supply, I think he still had a minor advantage, but I don't think he was winning the game because his units were going to get cleaned up and then he would just be basically stuck on his 3 bases. It's one of these very uncomfortable positions in StarCraft where there's zero possibility for you to move out. You've got zero map vision, zero map presence. You're just sitting there trying to throw up 7 spore crawlers against your opponent who has all the freedom in the world with Mutalisk. So there was an early GG. I'm definitely not going to say it wasn't early, but I do think he was losing that game for sure.
Do you think it's like a mindset problem again that they've all been sharing? Because actually I was walking around the player area before finding Pig and Puck, and I heard TLO and Snoot kind of talking after, because they were practicing getting together before, and TLO come out in the game he lost, and he just goes, I'm playing horrible today. And then they kind of went back and forth on it a little bit. Snoot's like, no, you're doing okay, and he was very negative before he even entered the series.
I don't know. I don't have any insight. I wasn't aware of that conversation. I haven't seen it, but it goes in swings. I feel like the Dario we saw at DreamHack Leipzig was pretty much the most positive Dario I've seen in a year, man. Yeah. He had a huge smile on his face, even when he was eliminated in the quarterfinals, wasn't beating himself up at all. He said, I lost, but I think I played great. He said that, like, exact words. He's like, I think I played great. Yeah. It was a 3-2 series, so I kind of thought that his mind was in a pretty good place, especially in a tournament like this, Single elimination, I kind of feel that's something that Dario is supposed to shine, like this is one of these tournaments where he can definitely sneak in maybe a quarterfinal appearance.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's ironic as well, because lately, like, I've been listening to myself, and I was like, every time I'm behind the desk, like, I often have a very strong feeling for a player, but then I kind of play it safe. It's like, well, it's going to be close. And this time, it's like, you know what? It's time to be honest. I'm standing here to have an opinion, and I'm just going to say how I think it's really going to be. And TLO's got this. And, well, I couldn't have been more wrong.
I mean, it's looking on the flip side of this, is brilliant news for iAsonu. This is a great victory for him. He's in the top 16, $6,000 banked.
That's
a chance
awesome.
to play for the top 8.
He's got another ZvZ, and he looked good in this ZvZ, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really fun to follow the Chinese players, right? Like, I followed them for a while because they made their first appearance in WCS America 2013, Season 2. That's when they really started going in because they had some issues in Season 1. And it's been going in wave. First, a lot of hype. Jim, Max said, we were loving it. Kind of stagnated, even went down. Then it went up a little bit again with Shigawa doing really well. Toot Ming also playing a couple of really good games. And he's been around iAsonu for a while, and this is a massive win. So even though I'm sad for TLO, I'm very, very happy for him and for the Chinese scene, because this is a big victory.
Yeah, and Maynard, not to belittle from where you come from, but you know what it feels like to have a smaller region do well in a big tournament. So we've seen Pig advance into later stages of tournaments, and obviously the same are going to be felt for the Chinese fans.
The tiny
it's-
region of China.
It's a very minuscule
That underdog
a
story.
dot in the world, yeah. But I mean, it is actually kind of cool to see a Taiwanese and a Chinese player go through. I mean, Haas is already through, and now iAsonu, so a lot of hype from that region. Hopefully for the guys watching on the international streams, but. I mean, the series went kind of like I said it would, and the aggression versus. I mean, I agreed with Roddy, which was a horrible mistake in hindsight. But but
we all make that mistake sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. So I mean, it was aggression versus creativity. TLO was doing stuff like the really early +1 attack, Zergling stuff, which you don't see commonly in ZvZ. It's very risky, pays off if you get away with it. But iAsonu was just he's just playing aggressive Zerg, and it destroys players that don't take him seriously enough, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah, big win for him. We can check in with the brackets one last time here, as we've now officially completed the round of 32. 16 players remain.
We did it.
After a grueling, 16 hours of gameplay now throughout all of these matches, so lots of action, but 16 players are left.
And out of the 16 players, 8 of them play Zerg.
God, I think that's close to 50%.
I think it is 50%.
I need to crunch that. Do you think
It's
so?
slightly more than 33, that's for sure.
I have a calculator on my phone.
You know what, though? It's a small sample pool. Doesn't mean much.
European Zergs are talented.
Can we just agree that we hate Protoss? Can we just go back to that point?
We still, I mean, we do have 3 Terrans and we got then 5 Protoss, so at least all races are represented. We've seen worse things in the past.
That has happened.
Yeah, and that's where things get very sad. You know, there's like 1 Terran in the top 8, 1 Protoss, 6 Zergs, and it's like, well, you know, there's a good chance we see all 4 races in the semifinals. No, ZvZ's back to back, you know. So it's definitely still, and we've got a couple of mirror matchups, so Protosses and Terrans guaranteed in the quarters as well.
And upsets. Like I was saying earlier, I really enjoy, like, I feel bad for Dario. He's a friend of mine. He's an awesome, we were so lucky to have him in the scene, and of course we're going to keep having him in the scene, but this is a gut-wrenching loss, and I feel for him, but as you guys were saying, it's cool for China. It's cool. Like, we all counted him out. We counted Haas out. We counted iAsonu out for the most part. And look at them, $6,000 richer and deeper in the tournament, and maybe the upsets continue. It'd be great.
And I think last year we didn't really see too many deep runs by the Chinese players or Taiwanese players in WCS events. They got to the round of 16 a couple of times, no doubt, but they have a right chance here today and tomorrow to advance further.
The odds are again stacked against them, though.
For sure.
Like Firecake has, that's really supposedly one-sided, and now
a laser
who just warmed up against Bly, who is also a very aggressive Zerg versus Zerg player. So I once again think we're tomorrow going to be like, let's be real. Like, it's over for them. And if they can upset again, that'd be awesome. I'd love to be wrong.
No, I mean, you're spot on, Sean. Like in 2013, Jim and Maxhead had phenomenal runs, and Jim had one more great run, I think, in an IEM back then that you casted. Shanghai, maybe it was. Made it to the quarterfinals, beat some good players, and then, you know, 2014, early on they were all right. Late 2014, they kind of disappeared, and 2015 was kind of a quiet year for the Chinese players. Like a couple of sparkles here and there from Tutming playing really good StarCraft, and iAsonu and Jigua, but the Protosses have been quiet. We had the Terran XY, I think he's called, right? He had a couple of decent games, but they needed this, you know, and this is good to see. So I am very happy for the Chinese scene.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to move on to the round of 16 then. We are going to be bringing you 5 games of the round of 16 today, and then the rest will be tomorrow, sticking to our planned out schedule. The first game of the round of 16 is going to be a Terran versus Terran. Looking forward to this one, as Captain America is going to be taking on the French player Daishi in our first game of the round of 16. And before we go to a quick break, which we're about to do, I do, of course, want to thank the sponsors, thescoreesports.com. You can go there to check out, funny enough, the scores of most tournaments here at the Intellect Stream Masters. And also plays.tv, where you can see highlights of all the different games and matches that have been happening so far here at the Intellect Stream Masters World Championship. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's Terran versus Terran time.